In a controversial move, the Kerala government has given additional charge of external cooperation to its Labour and Skills Department Secretary K. Vasuki. The Pinarayi Vijayan-led government has said that the K. Vasuki will coordinate and supervise all matters in regard to the external cooperation. The order has further emphasized that the resident commissioner at the Kerala House in the national capital will be supporting Vasuki in liaising with the MEA, missions and embassies. The decision to appoint an external cooperation secretary has sparked much furore. But why so? The Constitution of India highlights that matters pertaining to the defence and foreign policy come under the centre's authority. This is of both the BJP and the Congress have weighed in. The Congress MP Secy has branded the decision as a fairly unusual move. However, he has clarified that the bureaucrats has no foreign relationship responsibility of her own. Meanwhile, the BJP has launched an all-out attack at the left government in Kerala, branding the move unconstitutional. He called this a blatant overreach by the Pinarayi Vijayan. As the nomenclature and the role of the Kerala's new external cooperation secretary is under scrutiny, the larger question is, will this set a precedent or is it a deliberate move to trigger a constitutional crisis? Well, now we appreciate BJP's Tom Vadakkan joining us right now at this moment. So thank you for speaking to us and welcome to the show. Right now, Mr. Tom, what is the importance of this debate that we are having at this point? Your thoughts? What do you make of this move by the Kerala government to appoint an external coordinator secretary?
Well, there's much more than is visible, than what the CPM is saying. Pinarayi Vijayan is following the left propaganda machinery which is working around the globe. And part of that campaign is also to balkanize India. He's testing waters to see what the reaction would be. And he's setting a lead for other chief ministers to act accordingly. So under the guise of saying that this is for coordination and what have you, in fact, we have seen excellent coordination without a foreign secretary from Kerala, where the question of nurses came up. Our foreign minister, our foreign secretary were all hyperactive. They got them back. The coordination was perfect. Now, this is going to create a constitutional crisis because the division of the two lists, of the central list and the state list, very categorically represents the position in the Constitution. Foreign affairs, defense, these are areas which it comes under the central list. This is an attempt, like West Bengal, they tried doing this by bringing a resolution against the CBI and trying to remove it from the control of the state. And so did it followed in West Bengal. They also did it. Tamil Nadu was doing something of the same kind. So the point is they're setting an agenda. Now, Pinarayi Vijayan knows his days are numbered in terms of politics because his government is going and he is trying to create a situation which will create a crisis. And, well, I am surprised that the Congress party has not reacted, because the agenda is from the Communist Party, and the Communist Party leaders are currently advisors to Rahul Gandhi. So that being the situation, it is a very serious situation and should not be treated mildly by the central government.
But sir, I just want to interrupt you for a second there and want to understand, only if this issue is just for the designation name, or is there a substantive issue which is affecting how the Union of India functions when it comes, as you have also pointed out, citing various instances?
Today, it is just the foreign secretary. Then he will convert the DGP into the army chief, or have appointments like this, foreign secretary, defense minister. No, you are disturbing the very structure of the Indian Constitution. You are doing this consciously. At one end, Rahul Gandhi and company, which is India Alliance, talks about protecting the Constitution, whereas the same Rahul Gandhi went and tore apart a basic constitutional condition of ordinance. He tore it in public domain, and there he claims to be a protector of the Indian Constitution. So the agenda is the same, whether it is coming from Soros and company outside India or whether it is internally worked out. This is basically a Congress and Communist parties alignment in full play, trying to balkanize our country and create a situation where they can rule, and they can rule from the back door, literally, because all India is not going to accept this kind of,
that being said,
balkanization that they are planning to.
Mr. Vadakkan, do you think that the CM Pinarayi Vijayan has personally ordered this, or maybe someone else has been over enthusiastic for this move?
Well, end of the day, the blame will be at the CM's door. Whether he has acted as a puppet, it's a rule that has come from abroad, or what the advisors from the Communist Party in Delhi. But this definitely is an extreme mischief, trying to disintegrate our country and appointing a foreign secretary. It's not the designation that matters. What matters is the intention. Niyat kya hai? That is the issue. इसमें नियत की बात है. तो जब नियत इनका गलत है और ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के खिलाफ है, ये प्रोटेक्टर्स ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन कब से बने?
Then, sir, would you like the appointment withdrawn or its designation changed, or there is some sort of a resolution that, in your opinion, can be sought out when such a move is to be criticized from the party stand or point of view?
Well, we will oppose it tooth and nail. How we do it is essentially left to our central leaders. At this juncture, we will closely watch the developments in Kerala, because radicalization is a huge issue in Kerala. It's worse than Kashmir, for that matter. And if these are the kind of efforts that the government of the day is making, this is extremely serious. And I think the central government should take and will take cognizance of it at the appropriate time.
Sir, in your opinion, when you cite about the nature of the state, then what, according to you, is the legitimate state interest? And where is the line that crosses over into the interference and the provocation when we come to the state interest and the nature, particularly as you also cite?
Well, I think there is no confusion. There are two lists. One is the state list and one is the central list. There is no interference. There are certain issues in the central list and the state list, which especially education is one such sector. And there are other places where there is, but this is very clear. External affairs is not the state's issue. Defense is not the state's issue. There are other things which are there, and that is very clear. Cooperation between the state and center is clearly enunciated in the Constitution. There is no confusion about that. Suo moto, if this goes to the Supreme Court, the judiciary will give what the Constitution talks about. So this kind of attempts that are being made by Pinarayi Vijayan, whether it is himself or other sources who are, advising him at this juncture, I think it is something that we need to look at very closely, and I'm sure our Home Minister and Prime Minister are both competent to look at it, and they will take appropriate, moves that will ensure peace prevails in Kerala. We do not want the state of Kerala, which is a peaceful state, being converted into a radicalized condition, which is what
So
they
you
are
have talked
trying to.
about the center stand or the center's POV on this move. But when we talk about the MEA in particular, do you think that the MEA should take up this matter more strongly? There has to be some action that the MEA in particular can be doing on this.
Well, I think first of all, I think this has to be taken up at the highest level, where MEA who does it, or the ministry that takes up this issue. I am not well briefed on that, but let me tell you something. This is something which the External Affairs Ministry should not, because you can't have a state interference into international affairs, and the national interest of the country has to be kept in mind. Tomorrow, the foreign secretary takes a line that China is the best situation, or takes a position on Pakistan, and we will create utter confusion in our international relations, because the message will go down that India is not united, and there are messages coming across this way. So we have to be extremely guarded. This is not a small issue. This is something extremely serious that's going to affect our country. So I think all nationalists in this country should take it seriously, and the government of India, I'm sure, will take steps to ensure such things don't happen.
Sir, of course. Now, there is one way where we look at India's resolve to it. Now, what, in your opinion, is the impression that India as a country is going to create in foreign countries if this particularly becomes a political tool of opposition-ruled states?
Well, the opposition in democracy has its role to play. And if they remain in that role and is constructive about what they do and the positions, because democracy is about a two-way traffic, whether it is the central government or the opposition party, both sides have to arrive at a consensus. But if the opposition party takes a position which is harmful for the country, it is a very serious situation, which is something that is, if you don't let parliament work, if you do something in the budget session and you create situation, the LOP is answerable. I mean, he's taken up this new job that he has. This is the first time that he's taken up a job. I do hope and pray to God that he delivers. He stands up to the positions that democracy permits, and not create chaos and mayhem in Parliament.
So now, talking about the opposition, as you are also mentioning about the various roles now, commenting on that, from Sam Petroda to Rahul in Cambridge, what is the responsibility as a union you think of the opposition to represent a united team of India abroad?
Well, whenever he goes abroad, he has been acting in a very unusual manner, has been saying unusual things which are not appropriate for a leader from India. And especially, this is noticeable with the Congress party when the Prime Minister is traveling. The old concept was, when the Prime Minister is traveling, you don't criticize your Prime Minister. All your domestic issues are to be sorted in Parliament. That is the line of action. But here we have been seeing what you call a step that is being taken. Before he became an LOP, he went and said things which are, I would say, diabolic and harmful to the country, and said and things which are not acceptable and has affected our image, and things of that order. But I do hope, after taking up this position, he controls himself and speaks the right things, and speak as a united uh, opposition leader who is
For more such videos,
trying to
subscribe to the
help the
NewsX
country move
YouTube channel,
forward,
hit
not
the bell
create
icon.
chaos or mayhem.
anticipated budget session, which will commence tomorrow and day after tomorrow. The finance minister will reveal the first budget of the Modi 3.0 government. As suspense over the tax slab persists, all eyes are on the budget allocation for the defense, infra, development space, key central schemes, and for women and for farmers. Attention is also on the burgeoning sectors such as artificial intelligence, semiconductors, and renewable sources of energy. Just last week, the IMF raised its projection of growth in India's gross domestic product for the year 2024 to 2025 by 20 basis points to 7%. Ahead of the budget 2024 session, the forecast for growth of India has been revised upward, reaffirming India's position as a global economic bright spot. Now with this, we ask, what's needed to propel the India's economy to achieve a 10% growth rate? Now my colleague Priya is going to explain about the IMF projections that she has with more details.
Indeed, let's in fact take a look at some of the data that we've collated for all of you over the last few years. This here is a line graph showcasing India's economic growth over the last decade or so. In 2016, our growth rate was 8.26, but it's been dipping since then till around 2020. So it went down to nearly 7%, from there to 3%, and from there in 2020, when the pandemic was raging across the world, to minus 5.83. So this was the lowest point that we've been at, but India, of course, bounced back like never before. In 2021, we recorded a 9.05% growth rate, and since then, the IMF has termed us, as you stated earlier, a global economic bright spot. Growth rate has been slightly stable ever since then. 2022 recorded a 7% growth rate, 2023 recorded a 7.2% growth rate, and we've recorded an 8.2% growth rate in 2024 up till now. And the IMF, of course, has come out revising its projections. Earlier, it had stated that India would register around a 6.5% growth rate, but last week itself, the IMF has come out, Geeta Gopinath has said that India's growth projections have been revised to 7%, indicating the robustness of the Indian economy. Of course, a key focus is on the manufacturing sector and other burgeoning sectors such as semiconductors, AI, space, and other technologies that are coming about as well in the digital realm in particular. So that's all we have as far as giving the hard stats, the hard numbers are concerned. Back to you, Simran, to take the conversation across to our guests.
Well, yes, thank you, Pia, with all these detailed figures for putting this in perspective. Now joining us at this moment is a senior economist, Mr. Akash Jindal. We appreciate you joining, sir, at this point, as our colleague has also detailed and broken down the figures of the IMF. What do you think about the expectations of the budget as we go forward? And of course, there are many hopes that have been also tied for the tax slabs. But in particular, what are going to be the key highlights that an Aam Aadmi can also expect?
Start from the GDP growth. Yes, GDP growth wise for 2023-24, we had 8.2% GDP growth, which is clearly fastest GDP growth amongst bigger economies. Now, all the four big economies, which are bigger than us, US, China, Germany, Japan, they are much, much behind us. So it's clear that India is clearly and surely the fastest growing economy among its biggest economies. And now that's also going to continue in 2024-25 also. You have projected 7%. According to me, it could be even higher than 7.5%. Now, when we talk about budget, this budget is going to be a much, much better budget than the earlier budgets, because government, if I talk in cricketing language, is on a batting pitch. Why so? Because RBI has given a whopping dividend of 2.1 lakh crore to the government. So government has money. Now, tax collection also has been very good. If we talk about April 2024, GST collection, we had a huge GST collection, a wonderful GST collection, gross GST collection of 2.1 lakh crore. Similarly, income tax collection also has been high. Deficit is okay. So what I mean to say in simple terms is that the government this time has money up to a certain extent to fulfill people's promises, people's expectations or aspirations, I would say that would be the better word. Now, the analysis of my organization, Akashindal.in, tells, firstly, the basic exemption limit for income tax, which is generally referred as slab, though slab is not the right word, I think there's going to be an increment of 1.5 lakh rupees. That's what my expectation is. Now, 1.5 lakh rupees, if it happens, it would bring cheers on the face of Aam Aadmi, the common man. Plus, for females, there could be a higher additional 50,000 rupees additional exemption, and for salaried employees there could be additional 25,000 increment in standard deduction. Now after that, 80C is a very important section. It consists of many investments. Housing finance is something which is of great importance to this government and to the people, because this government has a target of giving houses to everyone, housing for everyone. This is the mantra of Modi government, and this is a very noble and a very practical concept. So I think housing finance, there would be a lot of concessions. Firstly, housing finance principal component, I think there's going to be 50,000 additional exemption. That's what my expectation is. Plus, housing finance, the interest payment that comes under section 24B, there I expect 1 lakh rupees standalone additional exemption. So that would mean that it would be much more easier for people to buy houses. All those people who don't have houses, they would be motivated to buy houses. Thirdly, what I expect is health insurance, which we generally call as Mediclaim. Now, health insurance, what happens? Corona has already taught us, Simran. Corona showed us that there are diseases where the medical expenses could be as high, 25 lakh, 30 lakhs. So I think additional coverage is required. So I expect a 15,000 additional exemption as far as health insurance or Mediclaim is concerned. Now, if you come to other sectors, infrastructure, this government has always been positive on infrastructure, and that's how we have reached the fastest growing economy. That's how we have become the fifth.
Yes.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.
All right, Mr. Jindal. Thank you with all these perspective and definitely throwing light on the key expectations from the budget of 2024, which is the much anticipated topic. Now, moving on to the important development that we are tracking very closely of this bulletin. The Samajwadi Party chief Akhilesh Yadav has reached Kolkata to attend the TMC's big rally today in the city. The Trinamool Congress organizes the Martyrs Day program every year to honor the 13 people who were killed during a demonstration that was held by the West Bengal Congress, then led by Mamata Banerjee on July 21st in the year 1993. Joining me right now is our correspondent Renik Datta. Renik, we of course understand that amid the show of strength by Mamata in the state of West Bengal, of course the Samajwadi Party chief Akhilesh Yadav joins in and also shows his support to the opposition's unity. Now he has reached there, and what is the latest that we are picking from the ground? What has been the response by the West Bengal's people on this show of strength by the opposition?
देखिए हर साल के तरह इस बार भी 21 जुलाई ममता बनर्जी की तरफ से तृणमूल कांग्रेस की तरफ से कोलकाता का जो रेड रोड है उस रेड रोड में ये शहीद दिवस पालन किया जाता है और इस साल भी किया जा रहा है। और उसमें अखिलेश यादव कोलकाता पहुंच चुके हैं। समाजवादी पार्टी के चीफ अखिलेश यादव वो आज मौजूद रहेंगे ये मंच पे। मुख्यमंत्री ममता बनर्जी के साथ ही वो 1 बजे के करीब ये मंच पे आएंगे। उससे पहले ये इस जगह में ये 21 जुलाई का जो मंच है, इस मंच में हर एक लीडर, तृणमूल का हर एक लीडर, वो एमएलए हो सकता है, वो एमपी हो सकता है, सब लोग इधर मौजूद है। और उसके साथ साथ ही नया जो एमपी है वो भी फ्रंट लाइन में मौजूद है। मैं एक बार दिखाऊंगा ठीक मेरा पीछे का ये जो तस्वीर, ये तस्वीर से ही साफ होता है कि किस तरीके से किस प्रकार में तृणमूल जो सपोर्टर्स इधर आ रहे हैं, ममता बनर्जी के मुंह से क्या ममता बनर्जी की तरफ से मैसेज रहेगा 2026 के लिए, ममता बनर्जी का क्या टारगेट सेट रहेगा, किस तरीके से तृणमूल कांग्रेस आगे जाएगा, किस तरीके से जिला में तृणमूल कांग्रेस का वॉकआउट होगा, वो उनका जो ब्लूप्रिंट वो ममता बनर्जी की तरफ से आज दिया जाएगा। इस उम्मीद से आज तृणमूल का जो सपोर्टर्स है वो सुबह से ही आने लगा है। राज्य का हर एक कोना से, पश्चिम बंगाल के हर एक कोना से जो तृणमूल जो सपोर्टर्स आने लगा है। 2 दिन पहले से ही वो लोग कोलकाता में आ पहुंचे थे, बहुत सारे लोग कोलकाता में आ पहुंचे थे। आज सुबह से दिखा जा रहा था कि हर एक जगह से ट्रेन कर बास कर और उसके
All right, Shrenik, thank you for giving us all these details from the site where the show of strength of the opposition unity is taking place. Now moving on to the diktat of Kanwar Yatra. Ahead of the monsoon session in the parliament, the government has convened an all-party meeting. Today, ahead of the budget session in the parliament, the meeting has commenced. Meanwhile, as per the sources, Samajwadi Party MP Gopal Yadav raises the Kanwar Yatra diktat in Uttar Pradesh in this meeting. Joining me at this point is our correspondent Mehndi. Mehndi, as we have seen over the past few days, the Kanwar Yatra controversy has taken the center stage, and amid all of this, the political war of words has also erupted. Now, the Samajwadi Party MP has raised this issue in the all-party meeting, where essentially before the monsoon parliament session commences, the government has called, and of course all the parties were in attendance, but the Samajwadi Party actually in the all-party meeting has importantly thrown concern on this. What is the latest that we are picking up?
Well, yes, rightly said, Simran. As you all know, that from a past few days, this issue of Kanwar Yatra is, creating a political war of words between the political parties. So, right now, all-party meeting was held by the, the censure before the monsoon session, and in which all the leaders of BJP and other opposition leaders were also present. But the main